So in this problem, we're actually trying to find the unknown part of a ratio. So to do this, one thing that can be quite helpful is to set up a table for ourselves to illustrate all the information we know and help make sure we shortcut the algebra in an appropriate way. So the ratio of adults to children in a movie theater is 3 to 7. If there are 51 adults, how many children are there? So here, again, to clarify, it's adults to children, so we know the ratio is A to C there. So to set up my table, I'm going to have adults on one side and children on the other side, in the same way that I see my ratio written out as adults to children. And the next thing I know is that I've got 51 adults. How many children? So I don't know how many children there are. That's my unknown. So I'm going to put an X for the unknown because I want that at the top of the table. And I'm going to put 51 because I know there's 51 adults and I don't know how many children. Then the next piece is that I know there's a ratio of 3 to 7. So into this table, I'm going to put a 3 for the adults and a 7 for the children, just like I saw in my ratio. Now the next step for us is to think about making an equal sign down to say x is equal to, and what we're going to do is times across the table, so I'll put a times sign going in that direction, and I'm going to make the other side of the table into a fraction, so 51 over 3. So what we actually plug into our calculator is x is equal to 7 times 51 over 3. And writing it out on the table helps us get the fraction in the right order and make sure we're timesing the appropriate things. So again, the unknown goes on top, 51, and the number of children I don't know. It's equal to 7 times the fraction of 51 over 3, top over bottom, just as we see it. So if we plug this into a calculator, for 51 over 7 times 51 over 3, we get 119. So there's 119 children in the movie theater. Let's take a look at another example. There are 21 snapper in a fishing net. The ratio of cod to snapper is 2 to 7. How many cod are there? So let's pick apart the problem. Let's get the order of the ratio correct. Cod to snapper. So I know this is cod to snapper. So I'm going to set up my table to say cod to snapper in the same order as the ratio. Next thing I'm going to look for is what do I actually want to know, and that's how many cod are there. I'm going to put an X under the cod because I don't know how many cod are there. And to go with that, if there's 21 snapper, that's a piece of information I do know. 21 snapper, I don't know how many cods, but I'd like to know. And the next bit is writing in the ratio as it's been given to us, 2 to 7. 2 and 7. And just double check that you've got your table and your ratio set up in the correct order. Cod to snapper, and again cod to snapper. The unknown part is again at the table where X is the number of cod. And here again we can set an equal sign downwards, and we're going to times across the table to the fraction that we see on the other side. So if I was going to plug this into my calculator, I would say X is equal to 2 times 21 over 7. And in this case, that is equal to 6, and that tells us that there's 6 cod in the net. So be careful with these problems that you always put the unknown at the top of the table. It can be on the left or right hand side, that doesn't matter. And that you get your ratio and your table set up in the same order. If it's cod to snapper in the ratio, that you have cod first and then snapper in your table. From there, timesing across between the two sides of the table to the fraction that you see on the other side, so drawing in the fraction bar.